Greetings, YouTube. In a rare instance, consequences have bit a white woman. A white woman who decided that when she saw a black man walk into her condo building, that she would prevent him from going any further. She felt that he didn't belong there, so she questioned why this black man was entering her building. Shocker, he lives there. Now, her defense of herself is that she was made nervous by his presence. And yet she blocked his path. She engaged in physical contact, preventing him from moving forward. And I contend this dude because he has the patience of a Zen master. And he's smart enough to have filmed the whole thing so she couldn't come up back against him later and say that he was angry or violent. Because in America, if you're a black person and you show any kind of emotion at all, you're very likely going to get killed by the police. You must remain calm and controlled at all times, and even that won't work. For example, telling a cop, with your hands in plain sight, I have a firearms permit, which then got that man executed. So he finally gets past the woman and into his apartment, which she can see. He got into the building with the little, I guess they have a little key fob thing that lets them in the building. Then he unlocks his own door. She followed him all the way to his apartment. Remember, she was made nervous by this dude, and yet she's following him. She's stalking him. He gets into his apartment. Half an hour later, cops show up, saying she called the cops because he had made her uncomfortable. Being in his own building, in his own apartment, doing nothing other than just living. But white privilege and white frailty is so powerful that she felt compelled to call the cops because a black man was alive. We have cases recently where a black guy got the police called because he was walking through the park with his own kid in a stroller. A man that was questioned in public because he was babysitting two white kids. The woman who questioned him then proceeded to follow him after he left the store for an hour. Called the cops and had him pulled over because he was a black man with two white kids in public. Do you know what you should do if you see a black man with two white kids in public? Nothing! They're just people living their frigging lives. But not to white, frail Americans. Not to white racists they aren't. Every black person in public seems to be a threat to them. I've known a lot of white people in my days. I live in a very white place in New Hampshire. For a very long time, you could count the number of black people I'd see in one day on one hand. Now we have a whole lot more immigrants, and our city is much more diverse, as is our state. And I think it's a wonderful thing. But when I was growing up, that wasn't the case. And so, you'd think, oh, black people are here, I should feel nervous. But guess what? I don't. Because black people have never caused me any harm. They've never done me wrong. I should feel a whole lot more nervous around white people who have done me wrong, who have caused me harm. Physical, mental, emotional, financial. Black people haven't. Why should I be afraid of black people? Well, for two reasons. One, because it makes no sense. And two, because I'm not a friggin' racist. But these frail, fragile, privileged white folks who are facing the reality that black people and people of color in general not only exist, but exist in their personal sphere of life. They're feeling as though these people of color are intruding on their lives simply by being alive. And that's racism. And they can't see it. But in this case, there were consequences. She lost her job. Her boss said, you know, We are a diverse organization. We don't need racists in our diverse organization. Bye-bye! Now, if this keeps happening, maybe white people will stop using the police as customer service, which is what they do right now. Because the cops shouldn't have shown up. They should have just said, was there any danger involved, ma'am? No? Have a nice day, ma'am. There's a neighbor I've got that's got 2 dogs that are completely out of control and always barking. And if people don't like dogs, walking past that place is going to be very nerve-wracking. But they're no danger to you because they're behind a fence. And the sign says, beware of dog. So there's no reason to call the cops on those dogs or the owners of those dogs. Maybe call them a dog trainer, but you can just keep right on walking, folks. And there's no reason to call the cops on black people who are just living their lives. I saw a satirical ad this morning about a phone number, 1-844-WIYTFEAR, white fear. Because that's what we're seeing. White people are suddenly realizing that there are people of color in the world, and they speak, and they insist on their rights. Yeah. You're a bunch of fucking cowards. You've lived your entire life literally in an ivory tower. It's time to realize that that tower was always illusionary. And at best, you were standing on a pile of corpses of those you've oppressed and killed because of your white supremacy. So, stop calling the cops on black people just because they're alive. Particularly, it seems, nervous white women who seem to be the most common callers lately. Yeah, don't do that. Just let people live. And they'll do the same in kind. And as the famous saying goes, can't we all just get along?